guys. So today I was thinking about the book Charlotte's Web, which is one of my favorite children's chapter books, and I came across this book, Sophie's Masterpiece by Eileen Spinelli, and it is also about a spider who has a masterpiece, kind of like in Charlotte's Web. So Sophie's Masterpiece by Eileen Spinelli. Sophie was no ordinary house spider. Sophie was an artist. She spun webs more wondrous than anyone had ever seen. Her playmates called her incredible. Her mama was proud. Someday, they said, she's going to spin a masterpiece. When Sophie arrived at the age when a young spider must strike out on her own, she moved to the Beekmans' boarding house. A boarding house is like an apartment building. The first thing she did was look around. She saw dull green walls, faded rugs, and old window shades. The place called out for her talents. Sophie set to work. Her first project was to weave a web of curtains for the Beekmans' front parlor. Day after day she whizzed along, blending a gold thread of sun into her silk. Then, one day the landlady noticed her and screamed, "Oh, I'll have no spiders in my parlor." She swatted at Sophie with a dust rag. Sophie knew when she wasn't wanted. She scampered across the wall and up the stairs to a tugboat captain's closet. When she finally settled down, she looked around and saw nothing but gray. Gray shirts, gray pants, gray sweaters. The captain needs a new suit, Sophie decided. Something bright, blue like the sky. And she began to spin patiently, a sleeve, collar. One day, the tugboat captain caught Sophie at work. He screeched, "A spider!" And he climbed onto the windowsill and out onto the roof. Sophie didn't want anyone falling off the roof on her account. And she scuttled out of the closet, down the hall, and into the cook's bedroom slipper. The cook's bedroom slippers were patched and dirty. "I'll spin Cook a new pair," Sophie thought, "after I rest a bit." No sooner had Sophie snugged into the toe than she was beginning to be flung onto the floor. Was it an earthquake? No. It was Cook who had shaken Sophie out. "Yuck!" scowled Cook. "Look at that disgusting, ugly spider." Sophie's feelings were hurt. With great dignity, she journeyed across the rug and under Cook's door. She made the long, long climb up the steep stairs to the third floor, where a young woman lived. Wearily, Sophie slipped into the young woman's knitting basket and fell asleep. By this time, many spider years had passed. Sophie was older. She only had enough energy to spin a few things for herself. A tiny rose-patterned case for her pillow, 8 colorful socks to keep her legs warm. But mostly, she slept. See her sleeping here? Then, one day, the young woman discovered Sophie. Oh no, thought Sophie, close to tears. She knew she didn't have the strength for any more journeys. But the young woman did not swat at Sophie with a dust rag. She didn't climb onto the roof. She did not say that Sophie was ugly. She simply smiled. And without disturbing Sophie in the least, the young woman picked up her yarn and her needle. And Sophie watched as the young woman knitted day after day. Booties, cried Sophie. The young woman was going to have a baby. Baby booties. After the booties were finished, the young woman knitted a baby sweater. Then the yarn was gone. The young woman did not have enough money to buy yarn for a baby blanket. Never mind, the landlady told her. There's an old brown quilt in the hall closet. Your baby can use that. Sophie had seen the quilt. It was scratchy and drab, not fit for a baby. Sophie knew the answer. She would have to spin the blanket herself. In her younger days, this would have not been a problem. But Sophie had grown frail and weak, and the baby was due any day. Could Sophie complete this blanket in time? She climbed out of the yarn basket, traveled to the wide windowsill. Strands of moonlight fell into the room. Excellent, she thought. I'll weave those strands into the baby blanket. Some starlight, too. Sophie began. As she spun, new ideas came to her. She worked them into the blanket. Snippets of fragrant pine, wisp of the night, old lullabies, playful snowflakes. Sophie spun without blinking, or eating, or sleeping. She was never more exhausted nor determined, and on she spun. She was down to the furthest corner of the blanket when she heard the cry of the young woman's newborn baby. And there, on that furthest corner, is where Sophie wove in the blanket her very own heart. That night, as the young woman was about to cover her infant in the landlady's quilt, something in the windowsill caught her eye. It was a blanket, so soft, so beautiful as to be fit for a prince. The young woman knew this was no ordinary blanket. She placed it with love and wonderment around her sleeping baby. And when the baby herself went to sleep herself with her hand upon the little spider's last spinning. Sophie's masterpiece. The end. Isn't it beautiful how Sophie always dreamed that she would make something wonderful, would make a masterpiece, and her masterpiece was a gift to someone else? I love this story. It's very beautiful. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.